14 years old, actually the age of my daughter, and I was left literally at boarding school in Switzerland, a very fancy boarding school. Nobody came to pick me up. I really did not know what I was going to do, and a friend of mine, a classmate, had me join her and her family while I tried desperately to get a hold of my parents. Either one.
Welcome to Secret America, where the glamour fades and the truth begins. Subscribe now and don't miss a single story. People always saw a superstar, but I only saw a mother who was barely around. The world knows Shirley MacLaine as this brilliant, sharp woman who talked about past lives and lit up every screen she touched. But nobody ever heard about the Shirley hidden behind the shiny roles, the one who left a trail of hurt inside her own home. In her expanded memoir, Lucky Me, The Truth Untold, Saatchi finally pulls the curtain back. She talks about things her mother never wanted out there. The open marriage with Steve Parker, the fancy gatherings where power and desire mixed in the same room, and the chilling feeling of being a kid stranded alone in Europe. Her voice cracked when she shared a memory she should have never had to carry. When I was 14, the same age my daughter is now, I was left at a boarding school in Europe. No one came for me. She sat in the lobby waiting as every other parent arrived except hers. A friend let her sleep over while she called home again and again, and nobody answered. That's where her story truly begins, the moment the cracks in a Hollywood legend show themselves. During a 3-hour conversation, Saatchi didn't shed a tear, but every word she spoke felt like she was peeling off the mask Hollywood worshipped. I wasn't born into a broken family, she said, but into a family that never really existed. That's when the truth came out about the perfect photos, the staged smiles, and a mother who loved the spotlight way more than she ever loved being present. Her father only mentioned when some financial mess hit, and from there, Saatchi stopped sounding like a witness and finally spoke like the child who lived through it, ready to face the house she grew up in. People praised Shirley for her glow, but to her daughter, that glow only highlighted a deep loneliness no one cared to notice. The Hollywood Hills villa looked like a dream from the outside. White walls, glass windows, a blue pool shimmering under the California sun. But to an 8-year-old girl with sad brown eyes, it was just a giant stage where everyone else performed, and she was the quiet audience. Mornings were silent. The housekeeper put out 2 untouched cups of coffee. Steve Parker slipped out before sunrise. Shirley floated downstairs in sunglasses and perfume, passing her daughter like she was just a shadow on the floor. In that massive house, footsteps echoed so loud Saatchi started talking to herself just to fill the space. She ate alone, played alone, and came home from school to silence. She drew colorful pictures of 3 smiling people around a dinner table, hoping her mom would finally notice one. But every morning, the drawings disappeared with the rest of the tossed-aside paper. Every afternoon when the doorbell rang, Saatchi's heart jumped with hope, thinking her mom had finally come home. But instead of that fancy Chanel scent she loved, it was just the driver, or the mailman. And when Shirley did show up, late, rushed, cool as ice, Saatchi still tried to smile, reaching out like any kid would. Her mother only leaned down a little, placed a hand on her shoulder, and said in that practiced voice, "You need to learn to be independent, Saatchi. I'm very busy. I work for you." Then she'd disappear again, heading off to an interview, a party, a shoot, anywhere but with her daughter. Dinners were just a kid and a cold, quiet table in a house filled with bright lights, but not a drop of love. Every night, Saatchi tucked herself into bed early, hiding under the blanket, listening to the wind outside and waiting for a mother who never walked through that door. Sometimes the German housekeeper, Greta, would sneak in, leave a glass of milk and whisper, "Sleep well, little miss." That tiny kindness was the only warmth the house ever gave. Sachi adored her father the way a lonely child clings to anyone who listens. Steve Parker wasn't around much, but when he was, he made her feel safe. He'd lift her up, take her to the park, buy her vanilla ice cream, and call her little star. Those short moments meant everything to her, even if they were rare. Then it all came crashing down. One summer afternoon, Sachi sat on the stairs when she heard her mother shouting, things breaking, footsteps stomping. She ran down to see Shirley in the middle of the room, hands shaking, waving bank papers. "You sent my money to that woman," she yelled. Steve stood there, with his head down, whispering something too soft for Sachi to hear. Papers flew everywhere, one landing at her feet with red lipstick smeared across it and a signature in Japanese. Sachi had never seen her mother like this. The woman always perfect on TV was now yelling and smashing things like the whole world betrayed her. Then she crumbled, crying not for her family, but for her pride. When Steve tried to comfort her, she shoved him away and snapped, "I don't need you. I don't need anyone." He tried to talk, but she walked off, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. That night, Sachi heard them arguing until the house fell silent. By morning, her father was gone. Her mother sat at the mirror putting on makeup, her face flawless, no tears, no cracks, just the same old screen-ready mask. When Sachi asked, "Mom, where did Dad go?" Shirley answered quick and cold, "To his place, and you shouldn't ask more." A week later, the press announced their separation, showing Shirley glowing at a party like nothing in her world had ever cracked. But for Sachi, that house now echoed with nothing but emptiness she couldn't escape. She watched from the window as her mother stepped into the car, red dress swinging, heels tapping like a metronome, never looking back, not even once. Days passed, and Shirley kept showing up with gifts and polite questions, but she never stayed long enough to hear the answers. Sachi learned to swallow her feelings because every tear seemed to annoy her mother. One night at dinner, Sachi cried and Shirley placed her fork down, staring hard. "You must be stronger, Sachi. No one survives on tears." That sentence followed the girl into every quiet night. Every moment she listened to the wind outside her room, trying to feel less alone. When the divorce became official, the media buzzed, neighbors whispered, and classmates stared. But Sachi felt nothing, just a heavy, empty space inside. She watched her mother walk out the door, perfectly styled, telling reporters, "I believe in freedom. Every woman deserves to be herself." And Sachi, only 8 years old, whispered into the banister, "I only need a mother, not freedom." No one heard her. As years passed, the world celebrated Shirley. Confident interviews, big speeches about independence, glowing movie roles. But Sachi remembered a different woman, one who always turned away. "She never looked me in the eye," Sachi said. "Every time I got close, she stepped back. Maybe she was scared she'd see everything she gave up reflected in me." When Sachi grew older, someone asked if she resented her mother. She gave a soft smile. "No, I don't resent her. I just regret she never understood what being a mother really means." Under studio lights, with time finally showing on her face, Sachi said the line that carried her entire childhood. "My family used to be a stage, and all my life I was the forgotten audience." While she waited for love, her mother was lost in another world, a world of influence, backstage handshakes, and secrets Hollywood refused to speak out loud. "Sometimes I think my mother didn't love anyone at all," she admitted. "She loved influence, the thing that made everyone stare at her like she was untouchable." In Hollywood 1967, nighttime lit the city like a non-stop party, every open door leading to another story of ambition and desire. Sachi Parker was only 11, but she already understood her mother was the type who walked through any door like she owned the whole room. Back then, Shirley MacLaine wasn't just an actress. She was treated like the face of freedom, a woman bold enough to speak truths others whispered about. Reporters praised her like she was untouchable. But in that huge house on the hill, Sachi knew those nights were never just political discussions like her mom claimed. She remembered the first night she realized something felt wrong. It was a chilly March evening, and the villa glowed with lights. Her mother was prepping for a private gathering, men in sharp suits, women wearing smiles that felt rehearsed. While helping Greta set out glasses, Sachi overheard her whisper to the gardener, "This time there are people from Washington. She knows how to stay in the game." The words made Sachi freeze in place. From the upstairs balcony, she watched her mother downstairs, glowing in a red dress, laughing closely with a salt-and-pepper-haired senator she'd seen in the papers. Guests leaned in, talking in low voices no one would ever dare repeat. Sachi didn't understand everything, but that uneasy feeling hit her like a warning she couldn't shake. Later that night, after everyone left, she heard her mother in the study on the phone. Her voice was sharp, controlled. "You must keep your word, Senator. If I help you look like a man of the people, I need my place secured on that upcoming committee." Then came her mother's soft, cool laugh. One Sachi had never heard before. Not a performer, but someone dealing in influence like currency. After that night, the world around her looked different. Whenever Shirley traveled, she'd say it was for equality conferences or some inspiring tour, but Sachi knew better. One afternoon, she opened a desk drawer and found letters stamped by the Office of the Prime Minister of Canada. Others were signed by Olof Palme, the Swedish Prime Minister. One note said, "Thank you for the wonderful evening. We'll discuss policy later," ending with a lipstick mark that made Sachi's stomach twist. She kept these secrets to herself, but at night, while studying, she'd hear her mother on the phone, laughing, but with an edge sharp enough to cut. "If Pierre Trudeau wants my public support, he needs to secure my film distribution in Montreal. Washington needs intelligent women, not ornaments, and I know exactly how to make them need me." Sometimes her voice even turned sweet, like honey coating a deal. "Sweet, you understand. Olaf, we live by the same ideals. Only our meeting points differ," her mother said, voice smooth as glass. Little Sachi curled up behind the door, heart pounding so fast she could barely breathe. She didn't know the full weight of the words, but she knew one thing for sure. Her mother wasn't speaking to friends. She was speaking to men who had real power, men who could move countries with one decision. On a trip to New York, Sachi saw something she couldn't erase. Her mother stepped out of the Essex House Hotel holding hands with a man she'd never seen before, both shielding themselves from camera flashes. The next morning, the New York Post printed the photo with a headline, "Hollywood Star and Europe's Mystery Statesman, Friendship or Influence?" Sachi showed her mom the paper, and Shirley just smiled coolly, crumpled it, and tossed it away. "Don't believe the press, darling, they don't understand me." But Sachi did, better than anyone. Her mother didn't want to be understood. She wanted to be seen. Whenever rumors spread, Shirley appeared on TV, smiling bright, talking about women's purpose in a new spiritual age. But on the screen, Sachi only saw a stranger. A woman preaching freedom while chasing the feeling of being important. She remembered all those nights sitting quietly outside the living room, hearing glasses clink, hearing laughter that felt too sharp, watching shadows move behind closed doors. Once, a guest who'd had too much to drink asked loud enough for everyone to hear, "Shirley, do you belong to Hollywood or Washington?" Her mother smirked and answered, "Both, and neither can do without me." The crowd burst into loud laughter, but Saatchi felt only a chill run down her spine. By 1970, after Watergate shook the political world, plenty of big names fell. But somehow Shirley showed up with a brand new film project funded by a mysterious foundation. Rumors swirled that a powerful friend from Washington was behind it. When reporters asked about the money, Shirley simply said, "Some things don't need to be said. What matters is the work serves the public." Saatchi read that article quietly, feeling a mix of shame and sadness. Sadness because her mother kept trying to prove something. Shame because Saatchi knew what those unsaid things really cost. As the years passed, Shirley fell deeper into that world where politics, intimacy, and personal philosophy blended into something bitter and complicated. Saatchi later wrote, "My mother wasn't dependent on alcohol or on men. She was dependent on the feeling of being needed, and to feel needed, she was willing to trade everything."
I am more than I seem, others are more than they seem, and I can certainly tend to accept more multidimensional aspects.
Even now, Saatchi says the real pain wasn't the rumors. It was the nights she stood outside the door listening to her mother laugh softly on the phone with some man she'd never even heard of. "Each laugh was like a blade," she said. "It slowly cut away the image of the mother I thought I had." People claimed Shirley MacLaine knew too much about Washington, about connections, about quiet secrets, but Saatchi knew there was one thing her mother didn't understand at all. No glamorous gathering can fix the loneliness of a child waiting for her mother to walk through the door. Those hidden nights weren't just Hollywood scandal. They were the truth of a daughter watching her mother trade affection for influence. And while the world praised Shirley as a symbol of freedom, Saatchi remembered a different woman, someone sitting alone at night, whispering to powerful men in a tone that made the room feel both warm and cold at the same time. "They say my mother searched for truths from her past lives," Saatchi said in a 2025 interview. "But I've spent my whole life trying to find the mother who disappeared in this one." While the world celebrated Shirley as awakened and powerful, Saatchi, living across the ocean, still waited for a postcard that never arrived. Every birthday had a cake, but never a mother. Winter, Switzerland, 1968. The sky covered in gray mist, hills buried in snow, and the boarding school tucked into a pine forest so strict and perfect it almost felt unreal. It was there that 12-year-old Saatchi learned what it meant to be politely abandoned. Every morning the bell rang at 6 and the girls rushed out of bed happily talking about letters from home, photos from America, or birthday presents waiting in their cubbies. But Saatchi sat quietly by the window, watching snowflakes fall like slow pieces of broken time. She had never received a single letter, not one postcard, not a greeting, not even a tiny note scribbled in a hurry. The only thing she ever got was an old pair of wool gloves the school matron gave her because that American girl seems forgotten by everyone. Every year on her birthday, the kitchen set out a small cake for each child, what Saatchi secretly called the cake for children without mothers. And she would sit with it quietly, blowing out a candle by herself, pretending the cold didn't hurt as much as it did. She ate her little birthday cake slowly, trying to picture a scene that never came. A mother opening the dorm door, pulling her close, laughing. "My girl has really grown." But the only person who ever walked in was the teacher doing lights-out checks, not the mother she kept dreaming about. "Every birthday I had cake, but I never had my mother," Saatchi said. Her roommates would ask, "Is your mother very busy?" Saatchi just nodded with a quiet smile. Busy filming, busy living, busy being someone the world adored. She never admitted the truth, that she wished her mother could slow down just enough to remember she had a daughter waiting for her. Christmas 1970, Lausanne drowned under deep snow. The boarding school closed for the holiday, and every child went home, except Sachi and a handful of girls with no families to return to. She spent 3 days by the dining room window clutching a slip of paper with her mother's address. Every time a car pulled up, she jumped, heart racing. But it was never her mother. On the third afternoon, the matron brought her a small envelope. Inside was no letter, only a telegram. "I'm filming in Paris. Love you, Shirley." No promise, no visit, no return date. Sachi stared at the cold message until her tears blurred the ink. People said Shirley sent her daughter to Europe to protect her from Hollywood pressure, a fancy way of describing abandonment dressed up as culture and independence. Shirley claimed the Western environment would teach Sachi freedom, but Sachi knew deep inside her mother wanted a life untouched by the word mom. While Shirley traveled India, Nepal, Japan, searching for truths from past lives, her daughter sat in a cold dorm wishing for love in this one. In 1972, Time magazine put Shirley on the cover with the headline, "The Woman Who Owns Herself." Sachi saw it in the school library, the bold letters hitting her harder than the cold outside. The smiling woman in the white dress was her mother, yet out of hundreds of photos taken, not one showed her child. The world saw empowerment. Sachi only felt forgotten. She remembered the one summer she went back to America. Her mother met her at LAX with a rushed smile and a light hug before saying, "I only have 2 days, honey. I'm writing a new book. I want you to see this. It's about the soul." In those 2 days, she dragged Sachi to film sets, meetings with directors, reporters, and strangers. Everyone got a piece of her mother, except her. No one ever asked if the girl was tired, and nobody noticed her sitting in the corner picking at cold food while everyone else laughed. That night in the hotel, Sachi heard her mother on the phone, voice sparkling with excitement. "I believe I once lived in Atlantis. Maybe I was a dancer there." And Sachi, the daughter she'd left behind in Switzerland, quietly wondered, "If my mother lived all these past lives, why can't she live this one with me?" By 1974, Sachi had finally learned how to be angry. She stopped waiting for letters, stopped hoping her name would be called when the other students packed to go home for winter break. She studied harder, spoke less, smiled almost never. When teachers asked about her parents, she only said, "They're very busy," and left it at that. In art class, she was told to draw family. She drew a woman standing on stage soaking up applause, while in the corner, a small child sat quietly holding a ticket to the show. When she handed it in, the teacher stared at the drawing before asking, "Who is this little girl? Is she happy?" Sachi answered softly, "She once thought she was." At 18, she left Switzerland for Japan to live with her father, but there was only silence between them. He had someone new, a fresh life, and Sachi was just trying not to feel like a guest. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Shirley kept traveling, talking about karma, freedom, and past lives, like none of it had anything to do with the daughter she'd left behind. In 1981, Sachi returned to America, part of her missed home, part of her hoped her mother had changed after all those years. But when she walked into the Santa Monica apartment, an assistant opened the door, not her mother. Shirley was on a flight to New York for The Tonight Show. All she left behind was a note. "I'm so glad you're back. Do what you want, but don't depend on anyone." On the dining table was a folded newspaper with a bold headline, "Shirley MacLaine, the woman who needs no one." Sachi stared at it and let out a bitter smile. In the years that followed, the media worshipped Shirley as a spiritually awakened star, claiming she'd found peace and enlightenment. But Sachi knew the truth better than anyone. That kind of peace only worked because it grew from the empty spaces in other people's hearts. People say my mother searched for truths from her past lives. I just wanted an embrace in this one, Sachi said, and the whole room went silent. She didn't cry. Tears couldn't bring back the childhood she never got. She just stared ahead, voice calm, almost like she was telling someone else's story. I don't resent her, she added, but I've learned that sometimes one person's success becomes another person's tragedy. People still talk about Shirley MacLaine as a legend, a woman who lived differently, thought boldly, chased freedom. But every time Sachi hears that name, she feels a chill that has nothing to do with Switzerland's snow. It comes from birthdays spent alone, Christmas mornings with no footsteps at the door, and a mother who existed only on screens, not in real life. On set, Shirley made lights shine brighter, but nobody felt warmer. A set assistant once whispered that after she walked off stage with her perfect posture, the whole crew exhaled like they'd been holding their breath. To them, Shirley wasn't just a performer. She was a small Hollywood storm, and whenever she walked in, the air tightened like something big was about to snap. Shirley tolerated no flaws. She stepped into every scene like it was a sacred ritual, light, angle, breath. Even her partner's gaze had to be perfect. If the light hit wrong by even a hair, she'd raise her head, eyes sharp, and say quietly enough to freeze everyone, "I won't perform when the light doesn't understand me." One sentence, and the entire tech crew scrambled like they were answering a queen's command. People joked that even the spotlight was scared of her. In 1979, during a simple 3-line scene, director Richard Lang had to step away from set because Shirley demanded 14 takes. She looked at her scene partner and said, "Your eyes aren't true. If the eyes aren't true, nothing on screen is." When Lang snapped that he was the one directing, she replied calmly, "No here. Only the character directs me." Her chill confidence made everyone unsure whether to admire her or fear her. On terms of endearment, her presence kept the entire crew walking on tiptoe, every movement, every breath measured carefully, as if one wrong step might set off something unpredictable. Deborah Winger, her co-star, once joked around by making a rude noise right in the middle of an emotional scene, just to break the tension. The take stopped instantly, and Shirley didn't speak to her for 2 full days, not out of anger, but because she was trying to decode the behavior. "I need to understand human feeling to act more truthfully," she said later, leaving everyone unsure whether to laugh or step far out of her way. One supporting actor said, "She told me to smile with my eyes, but those same eyes scared me to death." Even Anthony Hopkins, who worked with her on the same film, said Shirley controlled everything like a director without a camera. He wasn't being rude, just honest. Shirley didn't believe in luck, she believed in command. "If art is truth," she once said, "then truth must be controlled." So she tried to control everything, light, angles, sound, even the rhythm of the other actors' breathing, but she could never control herself. When asked about it, Sachi gave a small smile. "My mother controlled the light and everyone around her, but never herself." What the world called talent, Sachi believed was fear. Fear of looking weak. Fear of being revealed as a woman who was lonely behind the glow, scared of aging, scared of not being needed. After the final shot of Terms of Endearment, while the crew celebrated, Shirley sat alone on the dim set. A young technician passed by and saw her holding a golden globe, wiping dust from its surface like it was something fragile. He heard her whisper, almost to herself, "No light has ever really understood me." No one knew if she meant her art or her life, but maybe it was both. Because even under Hollywood's brightest lamps, she never found a warm enough light to soften her own heart. "My mother never believed in death," Sachi said. "She believed it was just a change of roles." But in this life, she never learned how to live fully in any of them. Shirley believed she'd been a dancer in Atlantis in some past life, but she never learned how to be a mother in this one. Those words Sachi spoke, soft, steady, without anger, made the entire studio fall silent. Everyone there understood that beneath her calm tone lived a childhood buried under her mother's endless search for spiritual meaning. From the 1980s onward, while Hollywood chased explosions, fame, and glitter, Shirley MacLaine chose a stranger, brighter, and lonelier path. She wrote books, gave lectures, and spoke about reincarnation and karma. She said she'd been a Moroccan gypsy, a Turkish dancer, and someone who drowned when Atlantis sank, all souls returning to finish lessons. In 1987, Time magazine labeled her Hollywood's spiritualized icon, while critics called her the woman who left Earth without dying. By the mid-1990s, in her Santa Fe home, Shirley lived like a mystic, crystals on every table, wind chimes ringing, shelves packed with books about the soul, and candles burning through the night. She meditated for hours each morning, convinced her past lives were whispering to her through the light. When Sachi visited, Shirley smiled and said, "We've met many times before, darling, just in other lives." Sachi stayed quiet, thinking that if her mother truly lived so many lives, maybe she'd forgotten how to live this one with her own daughter. The media praised Shirley as Hollywood's cosmic guide. She appeared on talk shows to explain soul travel, guiding light, and cosmic energy. Audiences clapped, took notes, and believed every word. But Sachi saw something else entirely. A lonely woman trying to talk to spirits because she didn't know how to talk to the people still alive around her. "My mother wrote 12 books about reincarnation," Sachi said, "but not one about love." Once, Sachi asked her, "If every soul returns to learn a lesson, what do you think yours is?" Shirley smiled, eyes drifting somewhere far away. "To learn how to let go," she answered. Later, Sachi told the story with a soft sigh. "I think her real unfinished lesson was learning how to love someone for real." As the years passed, Shirley almost vanished from film, appearing mostly at spiritual conventions. Each time she held a microphone, she talked about death like it was a new adventure. "I'm not afraid of dying," she'd say. "I'm just curious what role I'll play next." Audiences laughed, thinking it was wisdom. But when Sachi replayed the tape, all she heard was quiet sadness. A mother still talking to the world, but never to her child. The world praised Shirley MacLaine for being awakened, but Sachi always knew the truth. No awakening is born out of loneliness. Shirley believed she'd danced through ancient eras, loved in distant worlds, drowned in Atlantis, and risen again. Yet in the one life where she was simply a mother, she never truly showed up for her own child. Now at 90, people still see Shirley glowing under stage lights, silver hair shining, smiling like she's forgiven every hurt in the world. But behind those stories of the next life sits another woman, Sachi, who has never once heard her mother say, "I'm sorry," never shared a full, real conversation with her in this lifetime. And maybe, while Shirley prepares for her next cosmic role, her daughter holds one quiet wish: that if reincarnation is real, maybe next time they meet as mother and child for real. Hollywood will always remember Shirley as a legend, a woman who lived loud, talked about past lives like they were fresh memories, and defied every rule the industry tried to place on her. But to Sachi, that legend is just a name on a door that never opened, a door leading into a house with no laughter, no warm meals, no whispered birthday wishes, just silence. Now, at 69, the girl once forgotten beneath her mother's fame has finally chosen to speak, not for revenge, not to drag the past forward, but simply to breathe and say, I was there and I survived. Yet one question still hangs in the air. Does telling the truth ever really heal, or does it just make the old wounds sting again? Will there ever be a next life where these two souls actually recognize each other? Not through cameras, not through headlines, but through something as simple as an embrace. And if anyone thinks time heals everything, look into Sachi Parker's eyes when she speaks about her mother. Sometimes time doesn't erase pain. It just teaches it how to smile. Thank you for watching till the end of this story. If you believe that behind every legend there's a shadow, like, share, and subscribe to Secret America, so more people can see the other side of the light, where there are no fireworks, only truth, and hearts still waiting to be loved.